Fantastic. Okay, let's see. Bits of news that I have to share. Next week. Next week, umpired home, this time, this channel, and my special guest. I didn't have time to do a graphic for him. I'm a monster, I know. Jakub Mejlik is going to be in the house. Yes. So very exciting. He's going to have lots of amazing stories to share with us. And I have a feeling that that might arise from recent events. I'm not allowed to say anything publicly. I'm just saying that it might be a very current show. That's right. A very current show. The week after that, so the 17th, I'm going to be welcoming American umpire Whit Harris is going to be joining us on Umpire at Home, and we're going to talk sports psych. So Celine, you sent me a message a few days ago that I forgot to respond to because I started organizing the thing that you asked me for. Celine DM'd me and she said, you know, Keely, I woke up thinking about how I wish I'd had more sports psychology preparation and more mental skills to help me deal with the stress of umpiring in big competitions. And, you know, have you ever thought about doing something with that, or maybe having an umpire at home guest on it? Yes. Yes, I have. And yes, we will. February 17th, Whit Harris. So if you have any interest in all in that, I'm sure that everything we talk about is going to be applicable to whether you're on the pitch as an umpire or in other daily situations. So I can't wait for that. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Okay. I'm so excited. Right. God, I had other news and now I've completely forgotten it. Another very special thing that I'd love to talk about briefly is I just want to welcome our first FHU third team red member on board. And again, I should have done a graphic because it would make it more exciting, but Berkshire Hockey Association. I cannot wait. And if you're wondering, what the hell is a red? What is a red? Well, I can tell you, maybe, if I can find my special effects. Keep it simple, Keely. Keep it simple. Stupid. Red membership is when a whole bunch of people who belong to the same hockey umpiring association or group band forces and they all get yellow memberships together, plus the head of the red membership gets access to all of the clip library to use for their own umpiring education and 4 workshops a year for your group that I'll run for you. Just like that. So if you're wondering, this sounds kind of dope, hit up Simon Milford. He is in the comments and he's promised me that he'll answer any questions anybody has from the Umpiring Association perspective as to what that means. It is a very cost-effective way for all of you to access all the great things and the ways that I am here to help you in your umpiring development. Do it as a group. It's more fun with community, and I am so excited that Berkshire's on board. And hopefully very soon I'll have more people to announce. Yeah, there we go. Red. That's what we're talking about. Martin, that is no way to get back on the show. The only problem with my hair feeling so good and looking so good is I want to like flip it. And I don't want to be vain, but I can't help it. Okay. It's so exciting when you get your roots done after such a long period of time. Okay, what are we going to talk about? If you have questions, get them in the comments, okay? And it might take a couple times. I might miss it, so don't feel upset. I'm not deliberately ignoring you. I'm just squirrel. Okay. I'm like that. Was it Doug? Was Doug the dog in Up? And yes, squirrel. So there you go. And yes, Simon, I have learned my lesson. It only took me 17 tries to say Berkshire correctly. Let's see. Okay, let's get started on the content. It's yeah, it's going to be kind of random and I'm going to have to do things with my technology. So bear with me when things happen. There have been a couple of social media posts in the recent past that drew my attention. And sometimes it's really awesome. People will see a clip on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and they'll tag me. And I absolutely love that. So don't ever be afraid of doing that. I may not give you a personal reply because what I might do is what I'm about to do here on What Up Wednesday, which is share my thoughts and get your thoughts all in a big community setting because it's better in a group, right? We're a team. So tag at FH Umpires. Don't tag me personally because then I think you want to talk about my hair. That's very legitimate. So the first clip that I want to pull out is in the description. I was organized enough to at least put the links in the description so you can see them yourself. But this one was posted by, let's see. Oh my God, it worked. USA Field Hockey. They have a behind the whistle segment that they like to put posts up on, and they contributed this one recently. It's an indoor situation. So I'm going to play it right from the browser because that's how I roll. There won't be any sound, but you won't need it. So this is indoor. And if you're wondering about the pitch markings, the player did shoot from the appropriate place. She was inside that. Oh, darn you, YouTube. That line is inside the circle. And then there's a secondary line for, I don't know, some other silly sport, maybe handball or something like that. So their question is you make the call. And let me tell you, I have a thing about you make the call, goal or no goal kind of conversations on the regular because I find that kind of approach quite frustrating. What we are going to do is what good umpires do, which is analyze the principles. We're going to talk about what we're going to be considering when we would make this kind of decision. And this doesn't matter if it's indoor or outdoor. The only thing that changes is a little bit of the guidance that I'm going to introduce you to in a second. But what we want to do, and hopefully you're all kind of flicking to that YouTube video because I probably can put it in a smaller thing on the screen, but let's, again, keep it simple, Keely. So let's go through the principles and then we're going to apply them. And then we're going to talk about how we feel about that decision. Okay. One of the questions you might be asking about that clip, you might be wondering, okay, what's the level of hockey there? Because I'm not sure, because that is going to have a bit of a bearing. And from watching 5 seconds, at least for me, I can see that it's an under 18 performance event in the US. And these are fairly experienced players. So you've got that. The distance that the shot was taken from, away from the defender, for me, looked to be more than 3 meters. Okay, and I can go back and show it at any point. Tell me if you need to see it again from here. Now, that's not determinative of anything, but it's something that we want to consider. The other thing that I noticed from a fact situation, so we're kind of breaking this down like a legal case. These are the facts of red versus black. The defender in this case is not marking any player, and they have moved into the shooting lane. So they weren't there before, and as the player comes dribbling across, they move into that space directly in front of the goal. Are there any salient facts that I missed? Tell me in the comments. But I think those are sort of the most important ones to ask. The last thing, sorry, the other salient thing was the umpire in that situation blew a free hit for the defense. Clearly for danger. This is something that I want to point out right from the start. is that no matter what we talk about, it doesn't necessarily make any decision right or wrong. And this is not a criticism of the umpire in question. And I talked this over with a couple of people already, and I said, look, I would be not mad at either decision, but I'm going to give you how I would break this situation down and how I would apply the rules and the principles that we've and the principles we're about to discuss with the facts to get to what I think is my best decision in this case. So I noted the distance of 3 meters. And the reason that we're talking about that is not because there is any rule in the rule book that says a shot that is taken at a player who is 3 meters away in indoor or 5 meters away or further in outdoor, that shot is automatically safe. No, that's not the case. The only place that is a determinative binding rule is in this case of a drag flick on the first shot on a penalty corner. That's it. That said, it is a piece of guidance. It is a theme. It is a norm. Because we have that 3 meter distance in indoor and the 5 meter distance in outdoor that we attach to all kinds of situations. Whether an aerial ball being received in outdoor is safe, we look at a 5 meter distance that an opposing player can't infringe until the ball is controlled. For free hits or the free push in indoor, 3 meters away is the distance at which we put the opposition so that if the ball comes close to them, they are assumed at the level at which they're playing to have the skill to be able to handle the ball safely. That they can, but if they're closer than that, they don't have the opportunity to protect themselves. Their reflexes just aren't going to be fast enough. And that distance is like our line in the sand, but it works at every level because players playing against each other at every level are of similar levels of skill. And when you don't have that in certain scenarios, then you've got you're going to really struggle to interpret danger correctly or the best way that you can. Thank you, Whit, for putting that in the comments as well. It is at the top of the description. Okay. So for me, one of the first things I look at there is that defender is more than 3 meters away from me. It's a pretty side-on shot, so I think it's pretty fair to say that that's more than 3 meters. So that first consideration that I look at for whether that shot is dangerous doesn't satisfy the requirement. The next thing that I would want to look at is whether the area that the defender is occupying that ends up getting hit with that shot, is it a crowded area? Is there a lot of congestion? Is she being distracted from looking at the ball because she's marking another player, for example? Is she blocked from getting out of the way because it's so crowded? All those sort of things. And in that situation, again, if you go back and look at it, she is in a nice piece of space all by herself. There is not a crowd. It's not congested. She's facing the ball. She can see the ball. So that isn't present for me there. The last thing that I look at is, was that defender doing something other than potentially being a goalkeeper? Were they marking? And if that player is marking, again, it will be more congested, more likely that she's not going to be able to defend herself from that shot, but she's also doing something that she should be doing in the spirit of the game. There is no attacker within her proximity. She's just following the ball. And she's standing right in front of her goalkeeper, who is right in the shooting lane as well, because the goalkeeper has a good angle. They're fine. So when I combine all those things, to me, that shot is not dangerous and should be a penalty corner. It doesn't mean that the shot didn't hurt the player. It doesn't mean that if any of those circumstances change, that we would come to a different decision. But when I put those pieces together in that fashion, despite my empathy for getting hit with the ball And despite the thought that maybe it wasn't her conscious thought that I'm going to save this by blocking it with my body, if she doesn't, if that's her thought process intentionally, then we have a different decision to make, right? There could be something else in the picture, committing an intentional foul inside the circle. So she doesn't have to mean to foul. She doesn't have to mean to block the shot with her body, but she's doing it anyway. So despite the fact that we want to keep players as safe as possible, we also want them to take responsibility for protecting themselves. And there's no reason in that scenario, as the attacker is dribbling off to the right and gaining the circle and preparing for a shot, there's no reason for her to think this won't be safe. I'm putting somebody in danger by taking the shot, because there isn't somebody right around her. There's not people on the sides of the goal in which she's shooting. That should be a safe shot, right? So she's taking enough responsibility for the safety of her opposition. Her opposition is the one who's decided that she's going to stand and block the goal. So that's where I would go with that. And when I see the posts on social media that say, this or that, and it's really hard to go into the kind of detail that I just went into when you're, especially on Instagram. It drives me crazy on Instagram. It'll be one word comments. That's not good enough. We have to go through all these nuances, because otherwise you're just inviting a fight. So I'm interested in knowing at this point, before I move on to the second clip, if you have any thoughts about that. Did that explanation make sense? Do you have a different take on what you saw? Would you like me to show it again? Yes. Anik, I can absolutely show it again. I can do my best. Start this scene. Replay this video. Is that too small? Let me see if I can. Oh, no, I can't. If I go into YouTube, who knows what pandemonium is going to erupt. So I'm not doing that. Okay, I'll play it one more time again. And hopefully this is clear enough for you to see. So the shooter in red has just gained the circle. There is one player who is within 3 meters, but she's off to the side. And then there's a second player who, for me, is probably, I'd say she's 4 or 5 meters away at that point. Goalkeeper behind her, otherwise no other traffic. You're not seeing my cursor. I'm drawing my cursor around this. Not very helpful. And that's what I see. If that shot had gone into the first player who is within 3 meters, I'd say, yep, danger. Got it. Not a problem at all. Thoughts? Questions? Arguments? Jenks, you like to argue with me about danger. What do you got for me? So maybe what I'll do, since you're all just like, oh yeah, girl, we agree. Seems to be what's happening. I will, I'll queue up the next scenario, and I'll just keep bouncing back and forth because I have the ability to do that. I don't have the ability to do that. Let's see what happens. Kathy, you're laughing. Oh, you can see the cursor. Okay, I can't tell. Yeah, and Goddard's being on target is another factor you want to look for, but it's not the sole determining factor. So when we had Baz on 2 weeks ago, and he had that really big call to make at the end of his World Cup final game, where the attacker was just inside the circle, being closely marked by his defender, and he deflected the ball from a long pass that came towards him and deflected it up into the body of the defender. Baz called that a free hit out for danger, because at that distance, that player is doing their job to mark, and they have no ability to protect themselves from that ball. They have no way to exercise their skill to get out of the way or to play it with their stick rather than taking it in the gut. And that's why that's dangerous. And we call that down. So it's not just one thing. That ball, yeah, probably was going on target. It could have been the game tying goal or the game winning goal. I can't remember what it was at that point, but it was very tight. It was a very big decision to make, but it was absolutely spot on correct for me. And according to all the principles that we just applied, the defender was doing their job. They were doing the right thing. And you can't just willy-nilly take a shot and expect it's going to go through a solid mass of humanity. You have a responsibility not to hurt your opposition whenever you can exercise that. And if they do something that puts themselves in danger, that's a whole different world. Okay. Well, Owen, I hope I explained what the umpire in that situation is thinking, that that is a dangerous ball. And it's if I were her umpire manager and her umpire coach, I wouldn't be mad at that decision, because I understand the sentiment behind it, and I understand that we we want everybody to be able to go to school and go to work the next day. And this is one of our primary jobs out on there on the pitch, is to protect everybody. However, I would want that umpire to take me through their thought process and make sure they had seen all the things correctly. So if they weren't in a good position to see the fact that that defender wasn't marking an attacker, if they weren't in a good position to see the distance away from the shot that it came from, if they didn't take those factors into account and then came to the decision that it was a free hit for danger, I'd have concerns, because they haven't gone through the process. If they had gone through all that and then they still decided, nope, I think that's dangerous because I think that that player doesn't have the opportunity to protect themselves at that distance, well, I can understand that. I think when you go through the analysis, you probably, when you come at it from a principles basis, you probably come to a different decision. But if you don't, you can rationalize it and you've seen everything, fine. So it's really important to have all those facts in front of you. And that's why I do so much reviewing of visual clips. Because if you don't have all the facts in front of you, if you the picture in your mind that's been developed from you reading a written scenario on a forum somewhere on the internet looks different than what another person interprets from those very same words, you're going to come to a different conclusion, and you're arguing about completely different facts. So you're not going to be able to ever agree because your facts are different. You might be applying the principles exactly the same way. So that's why we look at clips, and we can see all these things. Okay. Simon, you can't really see it because it's a small size. You might be able to also expand your screen. If you're on a mobile, yeah, sorry, that sucks. I'll think about doing this differently next time. This is all good feedback. I'm glad to hear it. But you might be able to blow up the window if you're watching on a computer monitor, and you'll be able to, on the future clips, make them bigger. Rob, anybody just standing randomly in the way at a safe distance and gets nailed, it's their fault. Yeah. Yeah, and it's for the reason. So Owen, I really want you to hone in on the reasons why, not just, yeah, it's a PC because it hit her. No, it's a PC because it hit her and she put herself in a dangerous position. It wasn't the attacker who created the danger, and they were occupying a space that should have been, sorry, that should have been a safe goal scoring attempt. Rachel, you wouldn't be happy with either result. You wouldn't be mad. Possibly needs the additional consideration about the trajectory, which you just mentioned. Yeah, okay, good. Yes. Split-second decisions is what we do. It's our superpower, as well as being ridiculously good looking. And yes, it takes me 15 minutes or more to describe all this. I'm actually I should keep an eye on the clock because I have no idea. Oh, 12:36. Okay. Um, so yes, we go through all these decisions, but our brains are pretty amazing. And so the more experience we have in going through the interpretation, we're practicing right now, we're training right now to get better at making that decision quickly because we're greasing our synapses. Our neural connections are getting strengthened that this is the process. This is the habit our brain's going to go through every time we see this. The other thing you can do when you need to make that decision quickly and accurately is prep for it. You are thinking ahead. Hey, that attacker is open and they're about to get inside the circle. What are they going to do? They're probably going to shoot the ball. Oh, look, I see a defender coming and they're coming to block the way. What am I thinking about? What happens if they get hit? What if they get hit above the knee or on the knee or above the knee? What if they get hit below the knee? What if they fall down? What if? And you start planning your reactions so that when the thing happens, of the three possibilities that you figured were going to happen, it's very quick for you to react in your head. Inga, you take through the thought process. Yes, as an umpire coach, you take the umpire through, and yes, and you give people the opportunity to reflect back and that sort of thing. And I just feel like you can do a lot of work with umpires by asking the questions and saying, "Did you see this? Do you agree with this part?" And depending on the level of the umpire, sometimes you can just really leave it nice and open and just say, "What did you think about that decision?" And then you start honing it down with more close-ended questions. Or if you're dealing with an umpire who's really inexperienced, then you have more close-ended questions because they don't necessarily they don't have the experience to know what they should be looking for. They may not be able to articulate the thought process that they instinctively know that they should go through, but they don't actually know how to go through it. So that is really, really important. It's all showing off. You can tell I have two monitors, in a way. Oh my God, what is this happening? Are we going to talk about mental prep and attention control in 2 weeks? Because it's everywhere, right? It's everywhere. And I like to talk about it. Okay, that's great. So that's me talking. This is FHE reactions. It's going to be a new hashtag. And I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to make it a video that stands alone and it's going to be a reaction. I might film myself looking into the monitor going, "What, girl? What are you doing?" And, whatever the reaction videos do. I'm not that kind of person. I don't know how to play it up like that. Okay, Hockey Filmje, which is Dutch for film, by the way. And I looked up how to pronounce it, so if I butchered it, I'm really sorry. But I did listen to the Google pronunciation and tried my best. Filmje. Okay. And like you see very often on Instagram, goal or no goal. Come on now. So we're going to film through this. This was from maybe about a month ago, so there are a lot of comments, and you can see already Rob Abbott was on there. Kieran Govers, he knows something about hockey as well, but does he know umpiring? This is the scenario. We're going to look through it. And again, this one is in the comments, so feel free to have a look on your own browser. And I can just keep this on loop now. And hopefully this is bigger for you and you're able to see. While this is playing, I'm going to bring up Rob's comment from the last one because holy smokes. Yes. By the way, many angry thoughts on this. Okay. Pause. Going back to Rob's comment. This is a thing. This happens. Somehow, we're not able to tough it out. And The crimson mask is descending. I am literally seeing red. So the answer is stop it. Because first of all, they are playing each other. They are at similar levels of skill and athleticism and ability. And so the rules are in place. So it doesn't matter if it's under 14 or under 12 kids or it's senior level. The principle is they have the same level of player is shooting on them as is getting hit by the ball. So if you've got some crazy under 14 boy who can wing the ball, unlike anybody his age group, you've got a different situation on your hands. However, usually it all matches up, and that's why we have standards, and that's why we have principles. And you don't want players at any level thinking that they can go stand in front of the net because they're going to get the call. Because players will sacrifice their bodies. Not this player, not ever, other players. So, thank you, Rob, for bringing that up. It's going to lead into stuff I'm going to talk about later, if you can stick around. Okay. So, Hockey Film G, goal or no goal? Let's see. Anik, you're loving the work. Oh, Film G, thank you. And Simon, looks as though the ball left the stick before there were 3 points of contact. Okay, absolutely, that's one issue. So the player is falling down as they're taking the shot. This is a trained skill in indoor because that is how they can get the ball further away from the defenders and keep them safe and not hit them. So as Baz was explaining 2 weeks ago, that's how they can get the shots away without getting called for danger. Another issue, and I think this is the one that most everybody focuses on, is at what point was that ball released? Was it inside the circle or outside the circle? Now watch the defenders, watch the goalkeeper and what they are pointing at. My interpretation of what they're doing is they're saying, no, it was outside, it was outside. Let me keep that in frame. Outside. It's hard to tell from the angle at which we're at, first of all, to make that decision. So I don't think that this goal turns on that particular issue, to be honest, but it's something to be aware of that we now have with flicks in outdoor and indoor, that a ball could be released inside the circle that is not on the carpet. It's in midair, literally, as it's getting flung off, because that's what a drag helps you do, because you're pulling the ball from behind you and picking it up onto your stick. It's on your stick when you're in midair. Allegedly, this is what skilled players can do. And then you throw it off your stick. So as long as the ball is in contact with the stick, under the reading of the rule, that is being released potentially inside the circle. Now, whether an umpire can determine that from where they should be positioned here in their happy place, close to the end line, holy smokes. What a really tough decision to make. And that's something that players need to consider, is that yes, technically that might be inside the circle. Probably is, maybe is. I don't know. I don't even know what the realm of possibility is. But if you put an umpire in a position to have to make such a difficult decision without the benefit of video referral, seeing it in real time, they very well could get it wrong. So some of the comments on here were like, yeah, this is great. Oh, hang on. Let's see if I can scroll it in the right place. Goal 100%, clear goal, perfect goal and perfect thinking, says one commentator on Instagram. And I say, no, it's not perfect thinking. You want to make it as easy as possible for the umpire to make the right decision. So that player, if at all possible, should be thinking about, I'm going to make sure this is inside the circle, because you know what? They were clear to go. So that's one thing. Let me see. Simon's going for his birthday dinner. Okay, that's cool. Rachel seeing a potential deflection off a defender. Yeah, maybe, but I don't think anything really turns on that. Javier, what do you say? Does the ball deflect off the blue defender on the right post? Let's see, is it still scrolling? Oh, not defender, but attacker. Yeah, I don't think so. And the defender that's looking at him doesn't even blink for that. He's just kind of pissed that the goal scored, but he doesn't go, no, it hit the guy, it hit the guy. And I don't see any significant change of direction there. So let's see. Stoneman shot looked legit. The defender should have had the nose to go down when the attacker slid into him. That's one way to look at it, but we're getting closer to the thing that I want to draw your attention to. Inga thinks he's releasing it when he's just across the line. Yep. Let's see. Blue is attack. Yep, sorry. Now, friends, look at the video again and look what happens to the defender's stick. Right there. Did you see it? Players may not interfere with the sticks of their opponents. This defender is in front of the player. He's not reaching around from behind. He's set in his position, and then somehow miraculously, his stick gets removed out of the path of the ball. Because the attacker's foot kicks his hand. Maybe. As I'm watching this, I've watched this probably 50 times on replay. And I'd say 3 out of 5 times, I think there's an obstruction there by the attacker, kicking the defender's stick out of the way. Welcome to indoor. There are all these things that you need to look at. And I like that a couple of you brought out a couple issues that I hadn't even seen, but that is the one that you need to consider. When we stare at the attacker, when we stare at the ball carrier and the ball is coming into contact into a potential tackle, you have to shift your focus to the defender. What happens to their stick? Are they somehow mysteriously bereft of the ability to try to make a tackle that they were in a really good position to make? And how did that happen? If you're watching for that, you're going to see that. You have to see that as well as looking for the line all at the same time, which makes it a very difficult call. Sorry, but that's life. That's why we get paid the big bucks. Exactly, Whit. It's hard to see the correct angle from here. We don't actually know for sure where it left the floor, but I think it's probably safe to say, as we're looking at this in whatever frames per second, that I think it left the floor just outside and then left the stick just inside. Yeah, sorry, I don't see it that way, Inga. I don't see him as being an idiot. I see him as attempting a legitimate tackle, and then his stick gets kicked out of the way. There's nothing wrong with where he is. And had the attacker's foot not hit his stick, he probably would have been far enough around it anyway to avoid the stick and to avoid the tackle. But we don't know because the stick gets kicked out of the way, and I think that there's sufficient cause for disadvantage there inflicted on the defender. And whether you agree or you don't agree, that's cool. I'm fine with that. Again, I would be okay with a decision either way, but you have to take it into consideration. You have to think about it. And you have to see it. And the only way you can see it is shifting your focus. Yeah, I know. It doesn't mean that It's not a potential call though, because that is one of those kind of decisions, folks, that umpires miss a lot of. Rob, you're 50-50 on the stick obstruction. Would not call that one if critical looks like defender was at fault. Why? What did the defender do that was at fault? What obstruction did he commit? He put his stick down in front of the player. So definitely not the other way, but could be obstruction for the defense. Yes, the leg or foot block also happens in outdoor, and that would be a body shield. Okay. I'm not particularly in love with that argument in this situation because of the body position of the defender and the way that the attacker is able to get around him. He is legitimately moving around him, but he wipes the stick out of the equation. That's the difference. No worries, Javier. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? They're going to make the argument that they feel is going to be most appealing and most definitive and the one that's on the shakiest ground and the one that they understand the best. Players don't always know all of the permutations and things like that. And remember, I'm interpreting some of the signals. I mean, maybe the goalkeeper, when he was pointing up at the top of the circle, was pointing to his defender, not pointing at where the line was. You never know. Okay. So that is a couple of FHE reactions. Okay. And I'm totally fine. I'm really glad that we had a good conversation about it and good engagement. And I think it's really important for those of us who are coaching umpires and managing umpires that we have this kind of dialogue. And the important point being, if you are the umpire in that situation, you need to have taken all these things into account. And you need to be able to communicate the basis on which you made that decision. And whether it's a very simple gesture, if there's any contention like that, and if you make the signal that, nope, the ball was outside, that's your decision. And we do our best with that. That's one way to look at it, Rob, but I think from what happens to the stick, it gets kicked. There were people in this Instagram thread who saw that as well. So I'm not going to pretend like I made this up out of the blue. And yeah, that's a potential comment as well. Okay. Those are the clips. It is 12:54 for me. And I'm going to continue and talk about a few other things that have sort of popped up in the world. So for those of you who can stay with me. Let's keep talking. For those of you who are here just for the amazing umpire coaching, well, now we're going to talk about some social issues here. Whit, thanks for popping in. Yes, you're going to love these people. They're so awesome. They're my favorites. I love Wednesdays. Okay, let's talk about what's happening in the world a little bit. Because there's a few things that caught my eye this week. And in addition to talking about it here on the good old Facebook stream, have you heard of Clubhouse? It's this thing that's happening everywhere. It is a social media platform that is kind of like a combination between talk radio and interactive podcasting. And it's amazing. I am absolutely enthralled with it. And I've been around for a little while on the old interwebs. I've been on social media for a very long time. I've had my own name domain since the late 90s. So I've seen a couple things. There's something very special about this particular social media platform. and that is it's all voice. So, what it means is that when you are participating on Clubhouse and you are in a room, you get such a better sense of who these people are. It's kind of like a Zoom without video, and you can be listening to the conversation that's being had. It's more casual, it's more, in some cases, it's more engaging. And when somebody's talking, I don't know, we're humans and we're really good. We got good bullshit meters that are built into voices. When somebody's typing something out on Facebook and they say, here's some advice for you, you kind of be like, okay. But when you can hear somebody speaking it and they're speaking it from their heart, from their personality, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So don't don't worry. I'm not going to disconnect you guys at all. Anik, yes, Michelle, you are on my next set of invites for sure. But if you're already on Clubhouse, the links are in the description. Let me show you upcoming for me, my events this Saturday. This Saturday, I'm going to be catching up with Matt Allen, one of my besties from Australia, in addition to Michelle, of course. He is one half of the Reverse Stick podcasting team. And we're just going to talk over latest news in hockey and have a nice discussion about that, along with everybody who joins in. So if you are already on Clubhouse, please come by. The 6:30 a.m. is my time. Yeah, I'm getting up at 6:30 a.m. on a Saturday so I can be with people. I'm lonely. Did I know the Midlands have canceled their season? I'd heard that. Oh, I'm sorry, Simon. That's terrible. The other clubhouse that I'm running, the other clubhouse room I'm running here. Yes, boom, right there. Every Tuesday at this time. So yesterday I did this and had a really crazy fun room with George Connor and Mark Egner, who is an Irish coach now over in the US, and he is coaching the Dartmouth hockey program there. And we had a few guests in the room as well, and we talked about a perspective on rules from the coaching and playing side. So if that sounds cool to you, get your butt on Clubhouse and come over and join us because it's going to be really, really fun. And yeah, I'm just having an amazing time on it for sure. And ask me, like Michelle just did, ask me for an invite if you're interested, and I will pass that along when I get them. So I'm trying to be really active on Clubhouse so I get more invites for everybody because that's how it works, apparently. I've been on it for all of like 10 days and I'm such an expert. No, I'm not. Elon Musk came out on Sunday and broke it. He absolutely broke Clubhouse because everybody wanted to hear what crazy entrepreneur guy had to say. Let's see, Ian. It is very interesting. Read about it a little bit because my description wasn't very good. If you want to know more, DM me and I'll send you a couple of articles that I've been sending to people that kind of explain the concept depending on what your perspective is. If you're a business person like me, or you're a sports person, or you're into the arts, or you're into social causes, or whatever the case might be, there's a place for you there and you'll have a bit of a different perspective on it. It's very work. Yes, very important point to make. It is an iOS only app at the moment because it is in beta. So there are, as of last week, there were 2 million users only. They are growing like crazy at the moment. But in order to create a great experience for all their users, they've confined it only to iOS devices. So, Alan, you don't actually have to have an iPhone. You can use it on an iPad. Ask Tef Ahmed. He knows because he's been trying to get into one of my rooms for a week now and finally figured out how to do it on his iPad and hook up a set of headphones, and now he can participate. That's Taf Ahmed from Talk Hockey Radio. So very exciting. Okay. So that's Clubhouse. There are a ton of hockey players coming onto it now. in the last week, I think the entire German men's and women's squads joined. So there's all those folk, and Tommy Alexander's there, and oh, it's great. And hopefully they'll talk to me someday. Who knows? I think they should. But yeah, the Tuesday talk is so that we can talk to coaches and players about how they understand the rules and ideas that they have and that sort of thing. And then Saturday is to spill some tea. So come say hi. Couple news items that I'd love to go through with you folks because I thought it was interesting. And I've decided to share my feelings. I've been really holding back all this time. I actually have been. So the first news item for y'all is this fine human being, Stuart Baxter. I don't know him. I have no idea who he is, but he's an ex-British footballer who, up until this weekend or Monday, had been coaching a professional squad in India. And this was what he said, my fine 13 friends who are passionate about officiating. After a game that he lost, he said, "You need decisions to go your way," and they didn't. "I don't know when we're going to get a penalty. I think one of my players would have had to have raped someone or to get raped himself if he was going to get a penalty." Justifiably, the Odisha Football Club came out afterwards and said, yeah, that's not acceptable in any universe. And they fired him. And that's the right response. So, what I just want to draw your attention to, and I'd be interested in your thoughts on this as well, but I want to share this with you because I get in conversations with men who are hockey umpires in many areas of the world who say, I don't understand. We're trying so hard to get women involved, and we're trying so hard to get women on the pitch. And, they're just not confident enough. Here's a thought. Random, crazy idea. When 1 in 5 women have been sexually assaulted in their lifetime, and I can say I'm part of that 20%, the world looks a little different for you. And you're going to willingly go into places where you feel safe because the world isn't particularly safe for women in many, many areas of our lives. And when a comment like that comes out from a sports coach, where a rape joke that normalizes violence and makes light of something that so many of us have experienced, it's not like it makes a direct connection in our brain like, oh, I wouldn't be safe as a football referee in India. It's not like that. It's a much deeper feeling of danger. It's a reminder that we have to look after ourselves, we have to protect ourselves because we're not safe. And if you want women to come into the sport as umpires, you need to create safe spaces. Rape culture normalization has to be dismantled. That's only one of the pieces of the puzzle, but it is a big piece of the puzzle. So look, 70% of you, according to my Facebook and Instagram analytics, who follow FH umpires and engage with my material, 70% of you are men. So this is for you. This is for you to think about. How can I help make a safe space for the women that we want and humans who identify as women, a safe place for them to come and join our sport and serve the game? Okay? That's just what I want you to think about. The issues are bigger than all that. Let me look at a couple of comments. Yeah, Simon, just DM me as to what part you wanted me to send you links for, whether you wanted a link for Clubhouse or an explanation of what Clubhouse is. Let me know. Yes. Yep, that's the story. That's the story with a lot of people. They have great abilities. And then they do things like that. And the argument as to what consequences he should or should not have faced is not something I want you to get into. That isn't the crux of the issue for us right now. It's about understanding how this all interrelates with gender dynamics in our sport and in umpiring in our sport, because it's there. You're very welcome, Helen. Oh boy, yeah, right. Excellent point, Inga. And it's not that I'm not sensationalizing what happens in other cultures in regards to how they treat sexual violence against women. So I don't want to create, some extremism or anything like that, pander to stereotypes, whatever the case might be. But we know the realities of what happens in certain areas of the world and their different approaches, condoning or not condoning violence against women. And that is a live issue there for sure. It's a live issue for all of us, though. Michelle, as a human, why would you follow a team that supports those comments? It takes all humans to correct this shit. Absolutely. Okay. And again, it doesn't mean that this particular person, this Stuart Baxter, is a monster. It's not that. But we need to create a different culture. We need to change the way that we're doing this, and that comes with consequences. This isn't canceling him and all that sort of thing, but there are consequences to your actions. There's consequences to the things we say. If I said something that was that form of violence, I expect to get hauled up, and I expect to have a massive reckoning, and I want to be held accountable because I don't want to be that person, and I want to be part of the change, and I want to be part of being better. So help me with that. I think you will. The second thing that came up, it just came up a few hours ago for me when I woke up in the morning, and it was this post. Can you hear this? Yeah, you can probably hear this. In brackets, it would say dramatic music. Okay. And so, okay, I'll play the music and you can all watch this. But this is obviously on the FIH site.
It doesn't go to him. It's a goal. Competition and off the score. The ticker tape. They have broken the hearts.
The Indoor Hockey World Cup has been postponed by 1 year. See you in Liège in February 2022.
Link in the description. You can go watch that as many times as you want. But what I want to say about it is, first off, what a very polished, well-produced ad. I love it. Good work, FIH. But I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed this now. I noticed this in absolutely everything. I don't feel equally amazing at this moment. Throughout that fantastic ad, there was a split second of watching the Dutch women hugging each other on the pitch and a split second of the German women winning their championship game at the last Indoor World Cup. And that's it. Even the person who comes up to sweep the floor at the end of the ad is a man. There's a male commentator. There's a male narrator who comes over. Really? Now, if you think I'm just complaining in the abstract, I'm going to tell you a story because I want you to feel this. I want you to understand what it's like. Several years ago, a lifetime ago, it feels like, my partner at the time took a job in Houston. At least he needed to get trained in Houston, and he was gone for a while. And I took his son, my stepson, down there to have a holiday and to spend some time with him. My stepson and his father, massive basketball fans, massive basketball people. And to surprise us and to celebrate, my ex bought tickets to a Houston Comets WNBA basketball game. It just happened to be the first game of the season. The prior season had been the inaugural season of the WNBA. So now you can look up when this actually happened. And that was, okay, Charles, I'm putting you in the green room, but you're going to sit in there for a minute. That was the second season, and it was the home opener of the second season. The Houston Comets were the title holders. They had won the inaugural championship. And the biggest stars in the games, Cheryl Swoops and so many other women, were playing for that Houston Comets team. They were a real powerhouse. So we're going to this home opener game, and we're walking up to the stadium. And I'm looking around, and I'm seeing multi-generations of families all walking together. Grandparents, women holding babies, kids everywhere, because it was pretty cheap to get into these games. It was really inexpensive, so the whole family could go. And keep in mind, and through all this, I'm not a basketball player. We walk into the stadium, it's the shoot around beforehand, the warm up. And we get to our seats, the three of us, and I look out and I see that, and I'm watching the warm up, and I start to cry. I don't know what's happening, you guys. I had no idea what was going on, but I just started bawling. And my stepson was maybe 10 at the time, and he's looking up at me. And he's sort of looking up at his dad, looking up at me. And he looks up at his dad and he says, "Dad, why is Keely crying?" And Dad was like, just chill. I cried through the warm-up. I cried through the anthems. I cried through the entire first quarter of that game before I could get my shit together. I'm getting very calm talking about it. And once I could get this all look after, get my eyes working again, I turned to my stepson and I said, "I am never going to be able to explain this well enough to you, but you have no idea what it's like to be somewhere that is so important to you, that you love so much, a professional sporting event, and you look out to the court and you see yourself for the first time." Now, I'm obviously not a 6'4" woman of color who can play basketball. And it's not as if I was ever at that kind of level, but I'd never been to a professional team sport event where women were on the court playing and people were cramming this stadium to enjoy watching them play and to celebrate their championship title. Until you've been in a position where you haven't seen yourself, you don't know the power of that moment, the power of that possibility, and what it opens up in you as a human. The attachment that it forms and develops. I'll never forget that moment. And I'll never forget it was the Houston Comets. And I'll never forget it was the WNBA. This is why we must be equally amazing. This is why we need to represent our community, our people, and the fullness of the diversity that we have. But this isn't even diversity. This is 50% of the population of the world. This isn't hard. If you're not seeing women out there and women aren't stepping up to umpire and women aren't stepping up to play and women aren't stepping up to coach, it's because we don't see ourselves. We don't know that is a real possibility for us. Don't give me this shit about confidence. Don't give me this shit about potential and possibility and like, oh, you just need to walk through this open door. It's not like that. We need true equity and representation so we know that this is our place as well. Not in replacing anybody else, but joining it. Those are my rants for the day. Let's look at what's happening here. And you know what? I've got a guest. Let's see if Charles wants to join in. He's kind of wandering around. Charles, can you hear me? Are you ready to pop in? Hang on. You're still on mute, and I need to add you to the broadcast. So hold whatever your thought you're having. And I hope it's a beautiful one. Hang on here. There you are. Charles.
Hi.
Welcome to the broadcast. Welcome to the broadcast. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much. I'm amazed that you've caught up on me.
Wow.
And I just
you
only just realised
and I was
that you're
like,
broadcasting. Yeah. How is it over there anyway? You all right?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you. Yeah, we're just coming out of our lockdown. Like I announced to everybody, I was able to get my hair done yesterday, so that was very exciting. Yeah. But yeah, we might be able to start indoor hockey on the 8th.
Okay. Lucky you.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah.
What's going on with you?
Well, not a lot, to be honest. We're still locked down effectively. There's no hockey, no sign of it. I'm with Hampshire here in the UK.
Ah, yes.
But so you'll know a few of those reprobates that do the umpiring there.
Indeed.
But it's all a bit sad, really. I'm just living from day to day.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that things will work out soon enough.
Yeah. You know what? I really do feel like even though it's a stuttering light, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
It's flickering a little bit. Maybe you need to jiggle the cord a few times.
Yeah. I mean, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but it's not going to be the same, is it? You do wonder. I mean, certainly, league hockey, you wonder when that's going to come back. International hockey, it's not going to be the same, I'm afraid, Keely, is it?
Yeah, I don't think so. A couple things that we're going to talk about in the Saturday Clubhouse were the guidelines that are going to be released by the IOC for safe participation in the Olympics. So they have this whole system that they've devised for every single sport. And it's the logistics of, how teams enter the playing space and who gets to go where and all of these really complex machinations, but they have planned it all out, apparently, is what I'm seeing. So that is being looked at. And I don't know if you're aware, but the Pro League is returning this weekend. So Friday, Spain is hosting Belgium men. And I think it's just those two matches. So Friday, so the game's at 10 a.m. your time, I think, because it's 3 a.m. for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be staying up. Oh, don't even ask me what I'm going to be doing on my Friday morning. And then the next day, it's a couple hours later. So the game starts at 5 a.m. for me, so noon for you.
Yeah.
And 1 p.m. Spain time, I think.
Yeah.
So at least that is a possibility. And hopefully you'll be able to catch that if you like to watch your FIH Pro League.
Yeah, well, on the over the internet or the Sky broadcasting. I think one of their people, I think one of the channels have got it. So I'll have to catch it up. Yeah.
So did you have any thoughts from anything you saw on the show today? Was there anything that caught your eye?
Well, I've only just joined it, to be honest, Keely, and I was just sort of listening into your the last little bit there, and about women getting into it, and I just felt a bit despondent. You sort of felt that there was a despondent from everybody's point of view, that you sort of felt there was still an issue there. In that hopefully there is no issue in hockey, but that's probably a naive view, as I only see a microcosm of it.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but it is. And even when we take care of the overt things and the things that are very obvious, there's
Yeah.
still this undercurrent that keeps going, and
Yeah.
and I know
Yeah.
it's hard. And as a white person, for example, I look at things that are happening, and sometimes I feel a little defensive, and I'm like, but I'm not part of that, and I don't want that to be happening. And I know what that
Mhm.
that shame, that responsibility, what that feels like. So I get it, but we need to really like attach to each other's humanity and feel that compassion and go, I want better for somebody else.
Mhm.
I know it's not for me. I want it for somebody else. And because that's going to make me a better human. It's going to make me happier. So we just got to keep working on it and keep talking about it even until we're blue in the face. And I think that'll.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand it, but obviously, as a white male, I'm not championing it, and
Yeah. Well, maybe there's ways that you can. Maybe there's ways that you can. By me talking about it like this, maybe the next time you hear language that you think, wait, that doesn't sound, safe or.
And
I don't want to normalize that, so I'm going to speak up and I'm going to say something, and I'm going to say that's not okay.
No, quite right too. And I mean, I hope I do that anyway. But
Good.
my limited.
Well, it's our all of our learning.
Limited way.
Yeah, we're all learning, and we're all trying to get it better. So don't the fact that you're open and you want to talk about it, that's the good stuff right there. So I'm proud of you, and thank you for hopping on. It was great to have you on the broadcast. This was really fun.
Well, thank you for embarrassing me, Keely. Good to see you.
You did a great job. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you on future episodes of.
Okay. Well, I try and catch them, but it's I've only just reminded myself here, but I shall have to get back to the washing up now.
Oh well, get it going. I love to hear it. So, well, thanks very much, Charles, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, then.
Okay.
Cheers all. Yeah. Bye.
Oh wow, wasn't that fun? See, now I'm in a super happy place again because now I feel better because I've connected with somebody instead of just feeling all these emotions on my own. I'm now, that's good. Okay, let me go to some comments again because you guys have been talking, and that's really nice to hear. Rob, thanks for joining in. That was really great. Yeah, you'd think it's a no-brainer, Ian, but for some reason the brains weren't braining that day. I made a comment on the Instagram post, and it's going to get ignored, and then I'm going to hear through the back channels that people are mad at me because I said something in public about it. I don't care. I don't care. This isn't about me. This is about all the women who want to be fans of our sport and want to see themselves playing the sport and officiating the sport and coaching the sport, and they're not in the picture, and I want that for them. Really important. I'm seeing my phone ringing again, and I don't know if he's coming back. Charles, did you want to come back on? Is this what's happening? I think you pressed rejoin. So maybe that was a mistake. Let's see. Hang on. Let me put him on the screen. Let's see what he has to say.
All right. Yeah. No. Sorry. I'm not very good on this IT stuff.
You press rejoin. That's all good. See, now everybody knows that all you have to do is press rejoin if I cut you off summarily. No worries, Charles. Thanks again.
Cheers now.
Okay. Bye now.
Bye.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Simon, you're very welcome for the basketball story. Let me change my screen back. I wasn't expecting guests today, so I don't have the scene set up. That would make that look better. Yeah. That's a really important one to me. And embarrassing, the fact that I was crying in public for probably half an hour. Inga, yeah, I'm part of under 13 boys final of cricket in Worcester. One of the teams was a girl playing. Her mom came to me after the game thanking me for being there because it had shown her and her daughter there was more to playing. There was more than playing open to women. It was the first time they'd see a woman umpire. Yeah. Right. Stephen, you're very welcome. And there's many forms of visibility that we have to work on. And I believe in that. I believe in that at every level. Barry, Pro League is on BT Sport in the UK. Yeah, let's do it. And if you are part of the Yellow Mentorship Group, the Sunday game, it's on Saturday, the Saturday game. So the second game of the series, it's on. It is definitely better than it used to be. Yeah. Yeah. And look, I'm a child of the 80s. Okay. I'm 49, so I've seen a lot of differences, and I know that women who came before me had it much worse and much harder. But what I can't understand at this moment is, if we intellectually understand what we need to do, why are we not doing it? That's definitely happening in some areas. Female participation in my club is going to soon overtake the men's section. Awesome. Awesome. And how strong of a club you're going to have now going ahead. It's going to be better for your juniors and better for all kinds of people. I love it. Allie Wardale. Sorry, trying to get your comment up. You have a reasonably large club, 6 men's and 6 women, or 7 and 7, but we have slightly more female members than men. Absolutely. Several females on our committee, but the biggest issue is finding females that want to coach and umpire. We have some, but they're in the minority. Yes, because we have to address the systemic inequities that make it harder for women to go. Women who still have to look after the kids on the weekends because their husbands get to go out and play cricket and go drinking with their friends and do all that. Moms want to do that too. So different childcare arrangements and responsibilities and innovative solutions that allow women to get the same level of access so that they can provide service to the game, volunteering as umpires and coaches. That's what we need to make possible. Lockdown has affected all of us, and it's set us way back. And one of the things is really concerning, if you listen to social commentators talking about the effects of the pandemic on society in general, is that many people, many academics who examine women's issues are saying that this pandemic could set women's progress back decades, because the job losses have hit in certain areas. And if there's going to be one person, if the incomes get curtailed and the kids are going to be home from school because their schools are shut down, guess who's staying home to educate them? So women are quitting their jobs in order to look after their families. You're adorable. 49 on Friday. Let's see. Definitely seems easier from the side you were on, but that wasn't you. Thank you for sharing that. Rachel, I'd really like to see you. I'd love to see you on the 17th with Wit. Okay. And you can share more of your stories, the both of you. Alan, you're 50-50, plenty of women involved in the management. Right? So I hope that what I said earlier about the undercurrent and the normalization of violence towards women in general is something that you can understand could be an impediment in a very hard to pin down way. But really, it's there. It's there, and it's just one piece of the puzzle. One piece of the puzzle. Absolutely, there have been job losses on both sides. I'm not saying that only women have been fired. Absolutely not. But what happens is, when economic stress comes into a familial unit, and then the kids are no longer receiving their day-long childcare at schools, and if men are still generally occupying higher earning occupations and fields than women, they go out and get a new job, and the women the woman is staying at home and looking after the kids. That is what's happening, statistically speaking, more now than was happening prior to the pandemic. And that's what's going to take us backwards. I hope I've made that clear enough. Thank you, Rachel. I am too. I really am too. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for listening to my rants. I know it was a very different sort of What Up Wednesday, and part of that has to do with all the things I've been working on with Berkshire coming on board and Clubhouse and trying to line up more guests, because I know you love hearing from the experts and the big umpires on the big stages and people who have a lot of value to offer to all of us. I love it too. And it's just, yeah, it takes a little bit of time and effort to get everything coordinated. But I got two great guests lined up. So Jakub Mešlet from the Czech Republic is next Wednesday, and Whit Harris, earning his doctorate in sports psychology. He'll correct me. He'll correct me next week. And he'll be on with us, being able to apply all the things that he's learned and help lead us through some things that we as umpires can do to improve our performance. So I can't wait for that. Helen, you're one of two women who umpire the top men's grade, and you're often verbally abused, which is an issue. And you issue personal penalties as appropriate. Many women think we umpire like girls, and this is men's hockey. Okay. George, thanks for the link. I'm going to go have a look at that later, and I hope you all can have a look at that and see what you can pick up from that. Everyone should play social mixed hockey. It builds engagement. It's fun. Yeah. Yeah, I like it too. I also like an environment where I know that my skill level and my athleticism is closely matched. So as long as social, mixed hockey is great. I don't believe in competitive mixed hockey myself, but I want to explore that idea more. I want to think about it more, because my thinking around gender issues is definitely under transformation myself. So I need to understand that better. But I can definitely see good parts of it. And maybe it is something we should be exploring more. And maybe that will change things, and it's good to mix competitively as well. Hey, let's talk about this at some point. So George, go check out this research report on female representation in sport by the Women's Sport Trust. Thank you, George. Simon, thank you. Thanks for coming by. And yes, you too, stay safe as well. Okay, yeah, that's probably a good story. I can't quite put all the words together in the right order in my own brain at this point. I think I'm fried. You're very welcome. I'm trying to be authentic and be able to open up to all of you more. You give me so much of your time coming on board and watching these What Up Wednesdays and listening to all the things that I have to say. So I feel like I owe it to you to let you know more about where I'm coming from. And if you like that, awesome. If you want me to talk about more concrete umpiring things more often, I'm open to that too. I'm here for you. Okay, so if that helps you, that's what I want to do. Thank you. It's going to be a weird birthday. Not that I ever have non-weird birthdays, but yep, we know. We've all heard it all. Yeah, it's almost worse when you're better than all the men. That's when the real retribution comes. I hear that. Great to hear that your walking hockey segment is thriving. That is awesome. I love walking hockey. If you want to know more about walking hockey, ask Simon and talk to me, and I can get you in touch with the fine gentleman whose name escapes me right at the moment, Alan, who basically popularized and has created a lot of innovations around walking hockey. So there you go. Mixed is great. You're very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I can't wait for next week. Jakub is going to be a blast. So get ready for that. So I'll see you next week. And if you want to know anything about Clubhouse, ask me, ask George. It'll be awesome. Thanks so much for being here, and see you soon. Ciao for now.